Now adjust the volume control so that the sound can be heard in all parts of the room.
This is the Protect Your Assets podcast.
You get the idea?
It's on the internet.
Make him the cutest that I've ever seen.
Go on.
Give him 2 lips.
It's like no cheese I've ever tasted.
And tell him that his
Here's the Sandman.
Over Sandman.
Are you turning 65 this year? Well, if you are, what's your biggest financial concern? If you're turning 65 or know someone who is, you don't want to miss this special episode of Protect Your Assets, where we'll discuss running out of money in retirement. Good morning. I'm David Hollander, your host, and this is Protect Your Assets. For those of you just joining us for the first time, welcome. People around here, they call me the Sandman. That's because I help my listeners sleep well at night by answering their most troubled tax, legal, and financial questions each week. That's because I run a tax, legal, and financial firm and have been doing it for over 30 years. Maybe something comes up during the week and you want to know what I think about it. Well, please go ahead and email me your question. You can email me to questions@pyaradio.com. Again, questions@protectyourassetsradio.com, pyaradio.com. If you're hearing me right now, I'm willing to bet that your top retirement concern is not running out of money. And guess what? You're not alone. According to the latest Transamerica Retirement Survey, this was conducted by the Harris Poll, the single greatest retirement fear is outliving your savings. Social Security, well, that's front of mind right now with all the changes that have been going on. 77%. Again, according to the survey, are concerned Social Security will not be there for them when they retire. And with all the changes happening right now, are you concerned? Well, I did a separate show on Social Security recently, so if you missed that, go listen to our podcast wherever you get your podcast. Just type in Protect Your Assets and Social Security, and you can catch up on the latest when it comes to Social Security. Now, back to today's subject, which is running out of money in retirement. How does that happen? How do people run out of money in what is supposed to be the best years of their life? Would you spend more time on your golf game, gardening, or time with your kids or grandkids? Well, of course, life is meant to be lived, not spent on worrying about money. Today, I'll share things we've learned from all of our clients over the years. You don't want this to happen to you, so stick around. Coming up next, what's the number one way to run out of money in retirement? Well, find out what happened to others. Take steps so you can avoid that. You're listening to Protect Your Assets with David Hollander. That's me. We'll be right back.
Take the first step toward reaching your financial goals and get the information that can help you live a confident retirement. That first step is going to pyaevents.com and signing up for our next free event. That's pyaevents.com. Now, back to Protect Your Assets with David Hollander, the Sandman.
Welcome back. I'm David Hollander, also known as the Sandman, and you're listening to Protect Your Assets this morning, and we are keeping it real, as I would be willing to bet that your top retirement concern is making your money last and not running out of money in retirement. But how does that actually happen? How do people run out of money in retirement in what's supposed to be the best years of their life? Well, we're talking about that this morning. There are 7 ways we've uncovered that people go broke in retirement by making the same mistakes. So let's get started, and we'll talk with the first 2 right now. These are the first 2 ways that people go broke in retirement, and they contradict each other a bit, so I'll warn you as I get started on this. It has to do with your portfolio not being in perfect balance and could have you ending up on the wrong side of history. So let's start out with the first one, which is abandoning stocks. For those who survived or are still recovering from the Great Recession or the pandemic, I know that's burned in your knowledge banks right now, that stocks can be risky. And when you think about what just happened this year in April, the S&P was down over 20%. And it's scary. It's scary to watch your nest egg shrink as you head into retirement or are in retirement and relying on that account to cover your bills every month. Well, you're not alone if your knee-jerk reaction was to pull all your money out of stocks so you saved some of it. Maybe you did that, and maybe you're sitting there right now looking at the new highs with the S&P 500 this couple weeks ago, and you're beating yourself up because you missed it, wondering if you should get back in now. Well, that could be the wrong decision. I recommend that you have some of your retirement stocks throughout your retirement to keep up with the cost of living as reflected in inflation. And as I was talking about at our market segment, if you missed the market segment where I was talking about our update on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, go check out our podcast wherever you get your podcast by typing in Protect Your Assets in the Market series. I was talking about Chairman Powell and what he's thinking about, or the Fed's thinking about right now when it comes to interest rate and inflation. And no one really knows what they are going to do right now. It's very much an unknown, where the market's taking a gamble and saying, well, hey, we think rates are going to start to come down in September, but we don't really know. I mean, again, if these tariffs heat up, inflation comes back, well, the Chairman Powell and the Fed will probably just sit back and let that inflation cool off a little bit before they decide to lower rates and put more gas on the fire. And when it gets back to stocks, there is no one-size-fits-all answer for what your stock allocation should be in retirement. For our clients, we like to build a financial plan and use our portfolio MRI tool to measure their feeling on risk, and more importantly, to decide what kind of income they need once they get into retirement and how they're going to create that income despite what the market might throw at them. So stocks most likely will be part of that cocktail, but they also might be your worst nightmare, in which case maybe they're not appropriate. The flip side of this, and this is what I was talking about on the other side of it, is that you invest too much in stocks or in one particular stock because you've accumulated at your company. We see a lot of this in the Bay Area, particularly with all the tech companies around. You get a lot of stock options and grants, and it just starts to accumulate and becomes a significant part of your net worth. And then if something were to happen to your company or your sector, all of a sudden, wow, you lose a significant amount of your net worth, and that is risk. One method you could think about when you start thinking about your allocation to stocks is your age. This is a way that a lot of folks have done it over the years, is as you near retirement, you move the allocation percentage of equities to your age, meaning you could go, say, 60 if you're 60 years old, 40, or the other way around. Maybe you have 60% in fixed income and 40% in stocks. And as you get older, you adjust that. You trim back as you age. In addition, stock diversification, as I was talking about again in the market segment, is super important, particularly this year when we've seen the international EAFE index outperform domestic indexes by over 10% in some cases. I mean, these are big moves. So having a mix of small, mid, and large cap, international, as well as a mix of industries and companies within those categories is very, very important. Diversification doesn't ensure that you're going to make a profit or eliminate the risk of loss. And of course, having too much of any one stock in a particular category or one stock in a portfolio, like I was saying, that carries a lot of risk. This year, that has been especially relevant as we've seen the international index been a top performer and more value-based stocks holding up better than growth did, particularly in April. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of my clients getting buyout options from their employers. Recently, Microsoft laid off a bunch of folks down there in the San Jose office, and they have 30 to 60% of those retirement accounts sitting in that one stock. That could be a disaster waiting to happen. You might take a look at what are called ETFs. These are exchange-traded funds, and what you could do with those is just gives you diversification. If you like a particular sector, rather than, again, buying one stock in that sector, you go out and find an ETF, an exchange-traded fund that spreads that risk out amongst a lot of stocks in that particular sector, giving you more diversification and at an affordable price. ETFs typically, again, you have to research your prospectuses out there before you invest, of course, but find out what it costs to be in these things. In addition, you need to think about steady sources of retirement income in retirement. This is the second thing to watch out for. So stocks would be first. Second would be thinking about income, steady sources of retirement income, because we found that in retirement, income is king. Think about it. You spend all your working years accumulating money. And then when you stop working, you have to convert that into income. How do you do that? I'd suggest right now that you take a look at things like U.S. Treasuries. Municipal bonds could make a lot of sense if you're in a high tax bracket. Annuities right now, fixed index annuities that have cash flow based on 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 7 year, when you need that income to start coming on. The rates are very, very, very competitive right now. Some of the best I've seen in a very, very long time. So take a look at that area. And also high quality corporate bonds. Rates are not bad in the 3 to 10 year space right now. You also have seen gold's done fairly well, and real estate could be another opportunity out there to further diversify your portfolio. Are you ready to retire right now? Well, you should find out by taking our retirement checklist challenge. My team has spent hours compiling a checklist that you can take in your own home to see if you're ready to retire. This is quick, it's easy, and you can get it right now by calling us at this number. See if retirement's possible for you. Dial this number, 866-PROTECT. Again, that number, 866-PROTECT. Get my retirement checklist right now. Call this number, 866-776-8328. Coming up next, it's time for our popular They Say segment, where they say that diversifying your investments is smart. But what about your retirement income? Well, no one really thinks about or talks about that. So what do I say? We'll find out. You don't want to miss this one. You're listening to Protect Your Assets with David Hollander. That's me. We'll be right back.
Take the first step toward reaching your financial goals and get the information that can help you live a confident retirement. That first step is going to PYAEvents.com and signing up for our next free event. That's PYAEvents.com. Now back to Protect Your Assets with David Hollander, the Sandman.
Welcome back. I'm David Hollander, also known as the Sandman, and you are listening to Protect Your Assets this morning. According to the latest Transamerica Retirement Survey conducted by the Harris Poll, the single greatest retirement fear is outliving your savings. And Social Security is also front of mind right now, with 77% surveyed concerned Social Security will not be there for them when they retire. But how does this actually happen? How does somebody run out of money in what are supposed to be the best years of their life? Well, if you've thought about this, then you've tuned into the right station today as I share the 7 mistakes people make in retirement that cause them to go broke. In the last segment, we covered the first 2 ways people go broke in retirement, and that had to do first with not investing in stocks or having too much in one particular stock. And the second was forgetting about the importance of income and how you build an income portfolio. Now it's time for one of our fan favorite parts of the show. This is our They Say segment, where we debunk common myths, half-truths, and sometimes just bad advice that they say.
Who are they? What do they know that I don't? And what are they saying this week? Here's David Hollander, the Sandman's answer.
All I know is that I don't know.
All right, so here's one they say. They say that diversifying your investments is smart, but what about your retirement income? No one really talks about that. So what do I have to say about that? Well, more than 9 in 10 retirees cite Social Security as a primary source of income in retirement. Again, this is according to the survey conducted by the Employee Benefit Research Institute, the EBRI. 90% of people getting ready to retire think about Social Security. At the same time, nearly half of American workers fear Social Security will be reduced or, right now, not even be around by the time they retire. Social Security alone probably won't be enough, particularly if you're hearing me right now, to cover your retirement expenses. So you need to think about building multiple income streams. This will be the third way people make mistakes. Not having enough diversified income streams to satisfy their income needs in retirement as inflation heats up or as things get more expensive. So that'll be the third part of the subject. Social Security is super important, and it's a big part of your retirement, and there are lots of ways to increase the amount that you get from Social Security. Now, I've done a special show just on Social Security recently as things are changing. So if you want to get updates on that, there's two ways to do that. One is you can go get our podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, type in Protect Your Assets and Social Security, and you'll find our latest show on Social Security. And if you want to get updates on our thought process as we use our tools to navigate through Social Security, particularly if you're 62 or older, then please give us a call. Reach out to 866-PROTECT. Let them know you'd like to be on that list, and we'll add you. And as things change, we'll let you know what we're doing and how we're using our tools to make smart Social Security decisions. So let's get back to number 3, which is multiple income streams. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're one of the fortunate to have a pension, that's a place to start. This week, I met with a client who had a pension option. She was about to turn 65, and she was eligible to receive her pension. And as we were talking, she said to me, oh, yeah, I had this amount of money. It's going to be about $500 a month coming from my old employer. I just sort of forgot about it, but I'm going to go back and check it out because I'm eligible. And she said, and there's going to be a number of different options. And I said, well, right. And we need to talk about that. And she said, well, why? And I said, well, because you're married and your spouse has probably the ability to receive some of that income if something were to happen to you. And she said, that's right. There were like 3 or 4 different options, and I was trying to figure out what to do. Well, that's what we do. We help you think about it. It's part of our service. So that's a great place to start, is if you have a pension, there will be different ways for you to take that pension. And that decision you make is irrevocable, meaning once you do that, once you sign those papers, once you file those papers and start collecting that income, you can't change it. You can't go back and undo it. So if you have that sort of an option, don't make a mistake around that. Make sure you're looking at all of your income streams over your life expectancy and blend that pension option in within those income streams, so hopefully you don't have any surprises in 10 or 15 years from now, if that makes sense, okay? Now, what else would you look at? Well, you want to look at income from your 401k, your IRA. These are types of retirement accounts. You may have a Roth IRA. It could be a traditional Roth. These are very important types of retirement accounts that once you reach a certain age, again, depending how old you are right now, your RMD, your required minimum distribution, could start at, say, 75. And at 75, you'll be required to take a distribution from that account. That entire amount of money will be all ordinary income, meaning it will most likely be taxable. If you have a Roth and you meet certain situations, it shouldn't be. But in any event, you need to consider all of this. And if you have a 401k, that will probably be a big source of your income, and you will be required to take an RMD at some point. And so this is where you want to start to plan how you're going to do that. And this is where you could model simulations as to the amounts you take out of those accounts, when you take them out of those accounts. And now that we have this big, beautiful bill that is passed and is now going into law, there are many tax advantages that you can do over the next 2 to 4 years that are going to pay off in spades in the long run for you, particularly if you look at this ahead of time. So if you're unaware of what those new changes are, we have a new big beautiful bill tax guide for you that you can get right now. This just came out. We're happy to share this with you. Again, you just call 866-PROTECT and we'll be happy to send you a copy of that. Now, what other types of income streams are there? Well, there's rents. Maybe you have real estate. Maybe you've been paying down a particular property and you're thinking about renting it out or selling it. So real estate could be a good source of an alternative income stream. I was talking earlier about annuities. There are different types of annuities, thousands of types of annuities, and don't read an article that says all annuities are bad. That's just usually not right. And annuities right now can be a great source of retirement income right now. And depending on your age, I am seeing some very, very competitive rates of cash flow coming off of these. High single digits, even double-digit returns when you look at the cash flow coming off your investment. So these are an area that you want to explore. Maybe you turn that income on now. Maybe you turn it on in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. These are things that are out there where you can layer this in to your other income streams and create more predictable, consistent income when you need it. And let's face it, if you have more income than you really need, that might be a good thing, right? It might help you sleep a little better. So take a look at this. And again, I've done a show particularly on annuities. You're more than welcome to go out there and take a look at it. I did a YouTube video where you can watch about annuities. If you go to YouTube and you type in this, 5 things and David Hollander. So 5 things you want to know about annuities and David Hollander. 5 things you need to know. 5 things you need to know about annuities and David Hollander. And you'll see the video. I did a YouTube video, and you can watch that just to get educated on what these things are. What if you can't work anymore or you get sick? So the next one on my list is your health. It's no secret. Our health deteriorates as we get older. It's just the way it is. But also accidents happen out of nowhere. Just earlier this year, another one of my listeners this week I was talking to said, hey, did something happen to you early in the year? Because I noticed a lot of repeat shows. And I said, as a matter of fact, yeah, I was out skiing with my friends that I've been doing so for the last 12 years. And I had a pretty serious skiing accident. And this took me out for a little bit. And healthcare is expensive, as I learned. And recovering is hard, as I learned. And my surgery alone, even though I didn't stay overnight in the hospital, was over $90,000. Think about that. Wow, $90,000. And there's a report out there from the, again, Employee Benefit Research Institute, the EBRI, which shows that a 65-year-old man would need to save, get this, $144,000 to have a 90% chance of affording his health care expense during retirement. This does not include long-term care. And those costs aren't covered by Medicare or your private insurance. So single male, $144,000. It gets worse if you're a female. The news, according to this, 65-year-old female would expect to have $163,000 saved for these sort of expenses. So make sure you're doing all you can to cut your health care costs in retirement by looking at supplemental Medigap and Medicare Advantage plans, reviewing your options annually. You should meet with your advisor annually and update your insurance, and definitely stay in good shape. You may be listening to the show right now out there working out. Good for you. Keep doing it, because I'll tell you what, when you're in good shape and you get injured or something happens, your recovery is that much faster. It's just a matter of nature. So take care of yourself. Super important. Next on my list, long-term care. If you or a loved one need long-term care, well, guess what? Costs in this area are skyrocketing. According to Genworth Financial, there's a great website out there, genworth.com, where they have lots and lots of long-term care information. These are statistical facts that are happening right now across the country, so you can see the cost of care. According to Genworth, the cost for a private room in a facility, if you need to rehabilitate, get this, it's $8,517 a month. Small wonder 41% of workers are concerned about their health in retirement. 44% of those worried they'll need long-term care due to declining health. And 42% fear, you betcha, cognitive decline, dementia, Alzheimer's disease, very common as we get older. So premiums for long-term care can be steep, but you've probably heard my show where I've talked about things like ABLTC. If you'd like to find out more about how you could take your VA, if you're a veteran, or your life insurance and turn it into tax-free income that you can use for long-term care, you can call us right now, and we're more than happy to help you. Call this number, 866-PROTECT. Again, 866-776-8328 to get any of these guides that we have. We have a checklist for retirement. We've got this new big, beautiful tax update disclosure we can share with you, and we're certainly happy to talk to you about your health or long-term care and what we're doing in that space to help people navigate through it. If any of these are your concerns, call us right now, 866-PROTECT. You can remove the gray area, wondering how you're going to deal with these things when they come up. So call us, 866-PROTECT. It's time for a break, but keep it tuned right here, because when we come back, we're going to share how to help protect yourself from going broke in retirement because of these last two common mistakes that people make. We'll be right back.
If you missed any of Protect Your Assets with David Hollander, all you have to do is go to pyaradio.com, where you can download or listen to our latest shows for free. Just go to pyaradio.com on your computer or mobile device when it's most convenient for you. That's pyaradio.com. Now, back to Protect Your Assets with David Hollander, the Sandman.
Welcome back. I am David Hollander, also known as the Sandman, and you are listening to Protect Your Assets this morning. And right now we're talking about a very important subject, according to a recent survey, and that is running out of money in retirement. How does that happen? There are 7 ways that we've identified that people have made mistakes over the past and simply run out of money in retirement. If you missed any of today's show, you can find it on your smartphone 24 hours a day. Just go to wherever you get your podcast, type in Protect Your Assets, and today we're talking about running out of money in retirement. That show will be posted shortly, so you'll be able to pull it down and listen to any of the segments you missed earlier if you're just tuning in right now. There also have been quite a few changes when it comes to estate planning. As you probably heard, the Big Beautiful Bill is now law, and there will be some pretty significant updates as it pertains to how you collect the estate tax. And the Fed is also potentially going to be lowering interest rates here at the end of the year, which could affect things like real estate and how you pass assets on to your family. So in any event, make sure you get updated on estate planning, and if you're not up to date on it, tune in here and we will be talking about it more, but there are some significant estate planning things that have just happened. So if you have a revocable living trust or you're thinking about a trust, now would be a great time to have it reviewed and lock in some of these new laws. You could just call 866-PROTECT, ask for our legal team review, and we'll be more than happy to take a look at your estate planning situation with an attorney. So what account should you tap first? This will be number 6 on our list. This is just making bad mistakes when it comes to withdrawing money out of your savings to live on. Which account should you tap first when you retire? Well, it's a great question. It definitely pays to come up with a withdrawal strategy that looks at taxes and avoids penalties if you make a mistake. Now, those two things right now have just changed again as a result of the Big Beautiful Bill. As a general rule of thumb, you should typically use your taxable accounts first and allow your savings and your tax-deferred accounts like IRAs and 401ks to continue to compound for as long as possible before you start to take your withdrawals and pay your taxes. Now, of course, this changes with everyone's situation, and the most tax-efficient distribution method will depend on the exact composition of your portfolio, your income needs, your personal tax situation, and how much you spend in retirement. These are all very important things that have to be calculated and planned in advance of actually happening. And I would suggest you run some simulations of what if I was sick, or I needed an extra amount of income for this catastrophe or contingency. Those are things that we can model for you. In our office, we have tax personnel, we have estate planning attorneys, and we have certified financial planners who use the most advanced tools to map out what your future could look like and how much you take out of each of these accounts to extend the life of your portfolio. Remember that traditional IRAs and 401ks funded with pre-tax dollars are subject to the required minimum distribution starting at age 72. And if you miss an RMD, well, they did lower the penalty. It's not as bad as it used to be, but it's still pretty significant, so you want to avoid that. And just take a look at that. Last one on our list is you spend too much. Get this, according to the Employee Benefit Research Institute, 46% of retired households spend more annually in the first 2 years of retirement than they did just before they retired. How does that happen? Hopefully you've already started preparing a budget prior to entering retirement. But here's the strategy that you might use if you're thinking about retiring, and here's some steps you could write down. Step 1, add up your monthly expenses, factor in the taxes and the extras like long-term health, short-term health things that could pop up, and of course your kids. Those should all be part of your budget as you enter retirement. Step 2, separate these expenses into groups. You should have what's called non-discretionary, the must-haves, and of course the discretionary, the things you'd like to do, like maybe take a trip. Step 3, tally up all your sources of income. Where are they coming from? When will they hit? Social Security, pensions, real estate, part-time work, all those sort of things. Tally up all those income sources and take a look at when they'll hit and how much you'll pay in taxes on those. And is there a better way to do it? Step 4, subtract your expenses from your income to see what your budget should be. This is a great way to see, well, what can I afford? No matter how foolproof your plan may seem, consider those things that can go wrong, because they do come out of nowhere. And as this year has shown us, it's been a pretty volatile year so far. We've had lots of ups and downs, and there's sure more to come. Teaches us that anything can happen, so be prepared. If you have questions and they're not getting answered, or you're just not sure how to deal with these sorts of things because it hasn't happened to you, or your advisor is not familiar with these things, then you can remove the gray area right now and feel better about your financial independence and your retirement by getting your very own complimentary 15-minute retirement checkup. And we're more than happy to do that right now. You can call this number, 866-PROTECT, and schedule your complimentary meeting. That's 866-776-8328. And make sure you call right now. We have this new report on the big, beautiful bill. We're happy to share it with you and what it means. Call this number. We'll send it to you right now, 866-PROTECT. My team is standing by right now to send it out to you. I'd like to give a big thanks to the Protect Your Assets team for putting together a great show today. My executive producer, network manager, Kevin Renfer, and of course, all my fabulous producers back there, Raph, Lucas, Dylan. Thanks, guys, because without my team, I'm just another pretty voice on the radio. Thanks again, everybody. You've been listening to the Protect Your Assets show. I am David Hollander, the Sandman. Have a great weekend. And go out and make the rest of your life the best of your life.
Investment advisory services are offered through Liberty Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. The strategies mentioned are not suitable for everyone. The information expressed does not consider your specific situation or objectives and may not be appropriate for all investors. Past performance is not indicative of future results. To better understand the risk associated with investing and how it reacts to different market conditions, listeners should always consult with their qualified investment professionals, financial advisors, legal or tax specialists, and conduct their due diligence before making any financial decisions or taking any action. The legal information provided on the air is not intended to substitute for callers hiring their lawyers to advise them about personal legal matters. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Liberty Group LLC paid for the following program, and the host's views and opinions do not represent those of the station or its ownership. California Life Agent number 048569. Persons engaging the services of one affiliate of Liberty Group LLC companies should be aware that each company is operated separately. You're listening to the Protect Your Assets Radio Network.